Alright, I decided to come back to doing the horror movie tier list that I started last year, just kind of continuing it. As you can see, if you watched the last one, I've moved some stuff around. Looking at it again a year later, I was like, some of these aren't in the place I think they should be. Some of them I was way too kind to, and some of them I was way too hard on. So I moved around some of them. I'm not going to explain why opinions just change. I even said that in the last video, that was just how I felt at the time, and things can move around. So any of the ones from last year's video, which was like 120 movies or something, some of them have moved around. Some of them I'll point out, like Shaun of the Dead, I had at the top of very good, but actually when I was making the last video, I at first put it in best of the best, and then decided to move it to very good. And then later on I was like, why is it not in best of the best? I love that movie. That movie's great. So I moved it back up to best of the best. Also, got a new microphone. It's nothing that fancy. It's not like some state-of-the-art, groundbreaking microphone. Just a cute little thing. Sound's not going to be amazing, but, you know, I'm not a video maker. I just make them for fun because I like to just get my stupid thoughts on the internet so they don't have to hang out in here anymore. So hopefully it sounds better. I apologize for the past several videos. It sounded like I recorded them like 3 rooms away. Like I'm like, you can't hear a word I'm saying. That Sleepy Hollow video I just put out is terrible. I know I'm becoming a bit more of a mushmouth as I get older anyway. I listen to my recorded dialogue now, and it's like, I sound like Daffy Duck. Whereas I listen to this stuff I recorded like 4 years ago, and it's like crystal clear. So I'm just becoming a sloppy dumbass as I get older, or I guess more of a sloppy dumbass. But what can you do? We all do. It's a lot of spit in my mouth. I don't know why. I'm just a mush mouth now. I don't know what the hell happened. I hate the way it sounds. But let's get on. I'm not doing as many movies as last year. As you can probably tell from the title of this video, I'm only doing Universal Monster films. I might do another one. It's already pretty late in October, so probably not. I wanted to do another one, but I think I'm only going to be able to get around to Universal Monster movies this year. But this gives me a chance to go over a lot of the sequels and some of the lesser known Universal Monster movies, and just ones that I missed last year. I did a lot of them last year. You know, I did all the big ones like Dracula, Frankenstein, The Wolfman, and then I did you know, some other ones like Old Dark House, The Raven, and The Black Cat. I actually did even more than I thought I did last year. I threw in some extra sci-fi movies at the end of this one, just because some people consider some of the Universal sci-fi films of the 1950s as honorary parts of the Universal Monster Library. I usually don't, but some people do. But I see I already did Tarantula last year. I don't remember what I said about it, but I'll say I think Earth vs. the Spider is a better, more entertaining giant spider flick from the 50s. I think they both have, you know, their science babble or whatever, but I think like, Tarantula's got a lot of that science babble, whereas Earth vs. the Spider, it's got those really nice cave shots. Like, it's not a set, it's like a real cave footage. It's got the really nice cave cinematography. It looks so cool in black and white. And it's just got more of that, like, young people in the 50s kind of vibe, like The Blob. Not quite as good as The Blob. Nowhere near as good as The Blob, actually. But it's got more of that, whereas, like, Tarantula's, it's drenched in 50s, but it's just not as good as Earth vs. the Spider. But whatever, we're not talking about Tarantula. Let's get started with this, all right? All right, so the first one we have is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Now, I probably said in earlier videos that I was confused about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde being in the Dark Universe Mummy film with Tom Cruise, because I always used to say Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was never a Universal Monster movie. Because yes, the 1920s one with John Barrymore was not Universal. The 1930s one with Frederick March, which is the best one in my opinion, was not Universal. So I didn't get why people were considering Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde one of the Universal monsters, but technically, in 1913, or no, it was 1911, somewhere in the 1910s, Universal Studios' first horror-adjacent film was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's only about 24 minutes long. And it's what you'd expect. I mean, it's like well over 100 years old at this point. It's what, like 112 years old or something. It's pretty old. Film evolved a lot in that time. I think the 1910s, film was very simple. Most movies only were like 10 to 30 minutes long. Also depending on, the speed of the film playing, like maybe it was slower back in the day, so it felt a little bit longer. But films were short. We didn't reach like what the feature film length would be yet. And yeah, it's very primitive. It's very much just a product of its time. It's just like an early movie. You're not going to see crazy special effects. You're not going to have like exquisite acting or anything, but it's entertaining for what it is. You can throw it on in the background of a Halloween party and it's fine. Even then though, I would say just go with the John Barrymore one, but I think this one works best as just an interesting little piece of history. For people who are just interested in film history, especially Universal monster film history, this is where it all started technically. This was the first horror film they ever did. And it is what it is. It's a simple film. The transformation is like the actor playing Dr. Jekyll squats and puts a top hat on, and now he's Mr. Hyde, and no one recognizes him. So like, it's very similar to like a stage production or something, and not even like a Broadway production. I'm talking like school stage production with a higher budget. Maybe not that. Maybe like a college production. Yeah, it's pretty good for what it is, but like being real, no one's dying to watch this. So I'm not gonna put it too high. I think just out of respect for what it is and considering the time period it came out and how film really didn't exist yet the way it does now. Like, the film industry was not what it is today. It was an experimental minefield of just people got cameras and just recorded crap because they could. It was kind of like, you think of how like YouTube started out. It's kind of how movies started out. You just kind of recorded things. In the 1900s, I think like the late 1800s and the 1900s, it really was just like people filming whatever they wanted. 1910s is when it started getting a little more narratively structured. But even then, it wasn't that evolved. You look in the 20s already, get the stuff like Phantom of the Opera. It leapt so far ahead. And then by the 30s, it evolved so much. Like, film was rapidly evolving back then. So, but for what it is, I think it's pretty impressive for its time. It's not as good as the Thomas Edison Frankenstein from the 1910s, but I'd put it in good, pretty low in good. I'm not going to put it too high because, like, realistically, no one's going to want to watch this over most of the other movies on this list. But I'd rather watch it than a lot of the movies in not great, and definitely any movie in trash. So that's just me, though. But this is my list, so, whatever. Again, this is, just my list. So if someone watches this, and probably not many people will, because I know my horror movie videos don't do too well, but actually none of my videos do well anymore. I don't know if that's just people lost interest, or YouTube just doesn't show anybody my videos anymore. Any of my subscribers don't see my videos pop up anymore. Probably a combination of both. I don't know. But yeah, we're going to put it in good, near the bottom, because it is good, but it's not that good. It's just good for what it is, if that makes any sense. All right, now we have the 1920s Hunchback of Notre Dame. Many people consider this like the first Universal monster movie. I guess let's clear that up because I see people online fighting over that all the time. I think I've even gotten a couple comments like that on my videos of people getting angry at other people for calling movies Universal monster films that aren't supposedly technically Universal monster films. And all I have to say about that is, like, there is no official real list of what is a Universal monster movie and what isn't. There's a Wikipedia one, and some people swear by that, but that also says, like, a bunch of Paramount movies, like Island of Lost Souls, that were released under the Universal Classics collection in the 90s on VHS, are part of the Universal monster cycle, but they're not at all. But that one also, you know, counts a lot of the movies I count as Universal monster movies, like The Raven and all the Poe ones, and, you know, the Old Dark House and stuff. And some people say, well, those aren't Universal monster movies, those are just horror movies. But the way I look at it is Universal Monsters is just the name I use for the Universal horror cycles that ran back in the classic age of Hollywood. Some people stop with Creature from the Black Lagoon. Some people consider the Metaluna mutant from This Island Earth part of the Universal Monster series. And then some people consider, you know, all the way up to the Mole People as Universal monster movies. Universal themselves have released a lot of merchandise of the mutant and the Mole People under the Universal Monsters banner. So the way I look at it is, if it's a Universal horror movie from the 1910s to the 1950s, it's fair game. 1950s, it's a little iffier. I'm not going to put everything in there. I only put 2 of the non-Creature from the Black Lagoon themed 50s movies in here, because if you start adding all the sci-fi films, it just gets out of control. But I put This Island Earth for the Metaluna mutant, and I put the Mole People on here because I feel like those are, just by like merchandising sake, like honorarily part of the Universal Monsters. But I mean, hell, there's some people who even consider Jaws part of the Universal Monsters collection, so it's hard to say. There's no official ruling on what's Universal Monsters and what isn't. But here's Hunchback of Notre Dame. A lot of people consider this the start. I usually personally consider Phantom of the Opera the start, because Hunchback of Notre Dame's not a horror film in any way, shape, or form. It's, you know, both of them are about misfits with deformities, but Hunchback of Notre Dame is just the story from the book. They change things. But it's a tragedy. It's a tragic story. Quasimodo is in no way a bad guy. He's not a villain. He's not like a serial killer or anything. He doesn't live in the catacombs under an opera house and wear a Dracula cape and dress up like a phantom and pretend to be a ghost and all this stuff. Like Phantom of the Opera is clearly horror. Yes, it's like romantic gothic drama horror, but it's still horror. Whereas Hunchback of Notre Dame is just gothic drama. It's not horror at all. But since so many people consider it part of the Universal Monsters, I put it on here. And I already ranked Phantom of the Opera, and I put Phantom of the Opera in very good, just above the 2 Hammer originals. And I wouldn't say Hunchback is quite as good as Phantom, but this version of Hunchback of Notre Dame is really good, actually. Most of that is due to Lon Chaney, the Man of Thousand Faces. He's amazing as Quasimodo. His acting under all that makeup, so much makeup. The scene where Esmeralda brings him the water, it's a famous scene. It's in like all versions of the story. But that scene is so well acted, with no dialogue and like 1,000 pounds of makeup on his face and body. And he's able to convey so much in that scene. I'd say the biggest flaw with the movie is the fact that there isn't a lot of Quasimodo in the movie. It's actually more like Esmeralda's movie. She's kind of the main character, and we keep bouncing back and forth between Quasimodo and Phoebus being the main supporting male lead. So it's really about Esmeralda, I feel. So you get the most of her. You don't get as much Quasimodo. And Quasimodo is the thing you want to watch. When he's on screen, your eyes are glued to him. Like, he's just awesome. So, they did a really good job with him. I still think the 30s one is better. I think that's the best film version of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. But this one's damn good too. And I'd put it in very good, probably just after Fright Night. Now, speaking of movies that people lump in with the Universal monsters that aren't at all horror films, The Man Who Laughs. This one, pretty much the only thing anybody ever says about this film today is, this is one of the inspirations for the Joker. And yeah, it was. It was the physical inspiration for the Joker. Conrad Veidt, who was also the somnambulist Caesar in Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, among other roles. He plays the Man Who Laughs. I forget his name, the character's name. But yeah, it's like, what is it? Like Gwynpa, something, I don't remember what the hell it is. But yeah, he plays the lead character in The Man Who Laughs. And yes, the image of Conrad Veidt in the makeup was one of the inspirations for the character of the Joker. But the people often seem to think this is a horror film. I can get it, because like, he's got the creepy smile. It's made by Universal. It's got that German expressionist look to it. It has like a very like horror atmosphere, but it's not a horror movie at all. Not even like in the slightest. This is a romance, and it's actually a really cute romance movie. I think this movie's adorable. I love it, actually. I think it's a really, really damn good movie. It's just not horror in any way, shape, or form. That's kind of people just judging it by seeing the main character's face. But yeah, it's like a romance drama, and then in like the last 5 or 10 minutes, it becomes like an action movie with like these non-stop crazy action sequences. It even turns into like a swashbuckling scene and everything. He's jumping from building to building, and jumping into the water and swimming to a boat and all this stuff. It's just crazy stuff. I know that he's on a boat getting to a ship and crazy stuff. The dog is awesome in this movie. And he's supposed to be a wolf, but it's just a dog. But he's part of the action at the end, and nothing bad ever happens to him. And, spoiler alert, but it has a really happy ending, actually. And it's a really sweet, cute movie. I really like it. You love him. You love Dee, the blind girl, like his love interest, who's her name, Mary Philbin, I believe. She's also the one who plays Christine in Phantom of the Opera, and I think she's adorable. She's super cute. So it's a really, really good movie. I just don't think it's a horror movie. Like, watching it at Halloween doesn't really even make much sense. He is kind of creepy looking, but I'd say it's really good. Honestly, I would put it just above Phantom of the Opera. As much as I love Phantom of the Opera, I honestly think The Man Who Laughs is a better movie. The Man Who Laughs is a fantastic film. It's honestly one of the best silent films ever made, I think. All right, now Dracula's Daughter. I do like Dracula's Daughter quite a bit. I do think it's a fun movie. Obviously, they would have preferred to do another Bela Lugosi Dracula sequel, but they couldn't get him. I'm guessing he didn't want to come back for it. He was very opposed to playing that role forever. So Dracula's Daughter is about Countess Zaleska, his daughter, and the closest thing we get to Bela Lugosi being in the movie is a wax bust of him that's supposed to be his dead body. We do get Edward Van Sloan back as Van Helsing, but the lead of the movie is Countess Zaleska, and honestly, I think she's a really good character. She gets really underrated in the pantheon of Universal monsters. She gets like no merchandise or anything. She deserves to. I think she's cool. It's a good movie. It's a unique movie, and it holds its own. It's different from Dracula in that she's reluctant to be a vampire. She has to keep preying on people, but she doesn't want to. So it makes her a lot more sympathetic, much like the Wolfman or something. Only where the Wolfman goes into a trance where he just transforms into another creature and doesn't know what he does in that mode. Countess Zaleska is aware that she's killing people and has to just survive. And she doesn't want to, though, but she has to do it. So she's even more tragic in a way, because she has to force herself to do horrible things. It's an interesting movie. It's a good movie. It's got a lot of good dark comedy in it. It was supposed to be originally directed by James Whale, who's the best director that Universal ever had. But for whatever reason, I forget why, for one reason or another, he ended up not doing it. But I still think they kept kind of his style of dark humor in the movie. I think it probably would have been a little better if he was the one behind it, but it's pretty good. I think Dracula's Daughter is a damn good one. I would put it in good. I wouldn't quite put it in very good, but I'd put it in good. I would say it's like in the middle, probably somewhere in the middle of good, I would put it. I think that's fair. Son of Dracula, on the other hand. Alright, don't get me wrong. I love Lon Chaney Jr. I think Lon Chaney Jr. has a ton of charm. I think he's a great actor. But, like, he plays the kind of character he's good at playing. He's good at playing the everyman. He's this lovable, big, simple guy. Like, you know, he's like a regular average guy. He's, you know, got a heart of gold. He's just a really nice, easy to get along with, fun guy. He can't play an aristocrat. I'm sorry, not everybody can. He can't play Count Dracula. Only certain types of people can play Count Dracula. Bela Lugosi was perfect, but even then after that, John Carradine was a pretty good Dracula. He got the look down, he got the attitude down. Obviously, he's not Lugosi's Dracula, but he's his own version that works very well. I don't believe Lon Chaney Jr. is Dracula for 2 seconds. It feels like somebody cosplaying Dracula at a convention. And I know some people might say, well, this is Son of Dracula, this is Alucard. It's like, spoiler, if you've actually watched the movie, he's just Dracula. There is no Alucard. Alucard is just an alias he makes up so people won't realize he's Dracula. Because for some reason in horror movies, those are the kind of aliases that these monsters always make for themselves. Like Dr. Frankenstein in the Hammer films calls himself like Dr. Frank or Dr. Stein when he's trying to go unnoticed. They're not the brightest. When you become a literary monster, you're not the brightest person for some reason. So, yeah, the movie's just called Son of Dracula because that's what they did all the time. Like, they already called it Son of Frankenstein. And while that was literally about the son of Dr. Frankenstein, it just became like a naming convention by this point. And they're like, oh, sequels are just called Son of this because it's the next one. It's not a memorable movie at all. I wouldn't say it's like terrible. Like, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's watchable, especially if you like Universal monsters. But being completely fair, I would put it down in not great. Because that's realistically what it is. It's not great. It's just there to have another Dracula movie. They wanted to put Lon Chaney Jr. in more movies, and they wanted to make more money off of the Dracula name. So that's why that movie exists. Bride of Frankenstein, masterpiece. I don't think anyone would argue with Bride of Frankenstein being called a masterpiece, instantly going into best of the best. I wouldn't put it as high as like the original Dracula. A lot of people think it's better. I like the original Dracula more. Or I'm sorry, Frankenstein. I'm saying Dracula. Frankenstein. The original Frankenstein, I know, like, yes, it's missing stuff from the book. I don't care because the movie is good as the product it is. It doesn't need everything from the book. Bride of Frankenstein picks up a lot of that stuff that it lost from the book in the first movie. But I feel like the original Frankenstein there's a little more nuance to it. It's a little more ambiguous about how you're supposed to feel. Like, you're clearly supposed to sympathize with the monster, but it doesn't beat you on the head and tell you you're supposed to sympathize with the monster. All the characters in the movie think the monster's a horrible, abomination that has to be stopped, but we as the audience can watch what's happening and process it and be like, oh my god, this poor thing. Whereas Bride of Frankenstein, while it's still incredibly sophisticated for the 1930s and amazing storytelling, I would say it does beat you on the head a little bit more. There's no subtlety there. The first movie had a lot of subtlety, it had class. I do think the second one lacks a lot of that subtlety. It really tells you feel sorry for the monster to the point where they literally crucify him and he looks like Jesus Christ at one point. Yeah, but I do think it's amazing. Most people consider this the best of the Universal monster films. I wouldn't go that far, but it's definitely one of the best. I think after my 3 favorites, Frankenstein, Dracula, and the Wolfman, I would probably say this is the next best one. And if someone wanted to argue it was objectively the best Universal monster movie, I wouldn't really argue that. The Bride is kind of wasted. She's sort of a gimmick. And I know some people have critiqued the lab destroying lever that exists. Why would that exist in the lab? But if you think about it, they are performing like sacrilegious experiments that the townspeople would be completely against if they found out about it, because this Frankenstein crap already happened like the year before and almost, terrorized the whole village. A child died because of it. So they probably would have a quick failsafe that's like, oh crap, the villagers are coming to the place, blow it up, destroy all evidence. So, it might make sense. And also it's like the Frankenstein monster pulls that lever. He makes it look easy. It was probably really hard to move that thing, but he's insanely powerful. So, I'll cut the movie some slack, but it is kind of ridiculous that there's just a blow up the laboratory lever in the laboratory right out in the open. Like, what if someone hit that by mistake? But the whole movie is still amazing, though. Scenes like the one with the blind man and stuff are timeless classic scenes. And Dr. Pretorius steals the show. He's one of the best villains in the Universal catalog. I love Dr. Pretorius. He's just awesome. Now let's move on to Son of Frankenstein. Son of Frankenstein is a really good movie. It's surprisingly good. You wouldn't think they would get 3 good films in a row. But they did. Son of Frankenstein is really good. It seems like among Universal monster fans, it's become more and more popular to say Son of Frankenstein is just as good, if not better, than the other 2 films. And while I do think it's really good, I would not say it's as good as the first 2 Frankenstein films. The main reason to watch the movie is for Bela Lugosi playing Igor. This is where the character Igor actually comes into the Frankenstein universe. And he's not a hunchback. He's a man who was hanged for being a criminal. His neck was broken. He was pronounced dead, but he didn't die. He survived, and now he's got a broken neck, and he lives outside of the law because he's no longer a legal living citizen. That's what Igor is. He's not a hunchback, and he's technically... He kind of takes on the role of Dr. Frankenstein's assistant, but he's really not Dr. Frankenstein's assistant. He says he worked with Dr. Frankenstein in the past, but we never saw that. It seems more like he's just a crazy guy who wants the monster in his control, and he's manipulating the Frankenstein family to get what he wants. If anything, he's playing the Frankenstein family. He's actually the mastermind. So, as I just said, Dr. Pretorius was one of the best villains ever in the Universal Monster catalog. So is Igor. Igor is fantastic. But there are some disappointing things in this film. The fact that the monster no longer speaks. It kind of seems like Bride of Frankenstein is just undone. Like that movie never happened. This just picks up right after Frankenstein. But it is really damn good, though. It's the last time we get Karloff as the monster. It's the last time we get kind of that cool German expressionist look for everything. It's the last time it really has that style to it. And it's damn good. It's a great film. I would put it in very good. Honestly, I would put it pretty high in very good. I would put it... Let's put it after Jacob's Ladder. I think that's a good spot for it. Some people might think it should be higher. Some people might think all of these Universal Monster movies should be way lower than most of these more modern movies, but it's my list, so screw you. All right, now we have Ghost of Frankenstein. This is where the series dips in quality significant. Still not the worst Universal Monster film by a long shot, but this isn't the best. No longer do we have Boris Karloff as the monster. Now we have Lon Chaney Jr. And Lon Chaney Jr., you know, he does his best as the monster. He's not the best for the role. He's a big guy, so at least he has that going for him. He's not the worst Frankenstein monster, but he's not the best. But it's not really his fault. I think it's more just, A, no one can fill Boris Karloff's platform shoes in that role specifically. And B, it's just not as good a film. He was given a weaker film than the previous 3 Frankenstein ones. This one feels different, even though it's kind of a direct sequel to Son of Frankenstein. It feels like something else because the quality is so different. And again, it doesn't have any of that style that the first ones had. It has a little bit of it here and it has glimpses of it here and there, but for the most part, it has way less style, I think, than the first 3 Frankenstein films. And it just doesn't have the writing and everything that those 3 films had. So I would say Ghost. It's still good. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I would say it's not too high and good. Now we have Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. And this one is definitely way more entertaining than Ghost of Frankenstein. I'm not going to pretend it has the best plot. None of these mashup movies do. We're getting to the mashups. And none of them have great plots. But you know, they were just a spectacle. No one ever did shared universes in movies before. These were the first people to do it, to the best of my knowledge. And they made them fun. They made them like events. And you actually get Frankenstein and the Wolfman fighting at the end of the movie. The Wolfman in monster form and Frankenstein monster in full power. It's like you get what you want. Sure, one doesn't kill the other one, so there's no like, you know, winner, but you get what you want. And it's highly entertaining. It's really the sequel to The Wolfman, because it's so weird to think that The Wolfman never got a sequel. There's not like Full Moon of the Wolfman or Night of the Wolfman or Revenge of the Wolfman or anything. Like, we never got a Wolfman sequel. We only got crossover mashup movies with the Wolfman in it. So, you know, there's 4 Mummy sequels and 4 Invisible Man sequels and all, but there's not a single Wolfman sequel. So this is basically the Wolfman sequel. The next 3 films are basically Wolfman sequels, as Larry Talbot's the main protagonist of all 3 of the films. And then the other monsters are kind of just sprinkled in. I would say, just because it's so entertaining, I would put it kind of in the middle of good. Again, I don't think it's like the best writing ever or anything, but it's highly entertaining. And it's an important part of movie history. It's the first versus movie. It's the first mashup shared universe movie. So, you know, it's pretty legendary. House of Frankenstein. This is the first one to put not only the Wolfman and Frankenstein monster together, but also Dracula for the first time, played by John Carradine. This one, I'm not going to act like it's too good. You've got Boris Karloff playing Dr. Niemand. He kind of steals the show. He's like the best part of this movie. And for that reason, well, actually, and Larry Talbot. He and Larry Talbot are like the, you know, played by Lon Chaney Jr. They're the stars of the show. Not the crap on John Carradine's Dracula. Or I think this is the first time Glenn Strange plays the Frankenstein monster. I love Lugosi. He's one of my favorite actors, but he was never right for the Frankenstein monster. I don't know. He's got that round face and everything. It just doesn't work at all with the Frankenstein monster. Yeah, this one's pretty good. It's just nothing amazing. It's a decent step down from Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. But it's still watchable. It's still fun. So I'd put it in good. I'd actually put it above Ghost of Frankenstein. I still think it's a more entertaining film than Ghost of Frankenstein. Now House of Dracula. This was like the sequel they made immediately afterwards, which is kind of just the same thing all over again. Only you don't have Boris Karloff. It's kind of tired. It's getting to the point where it's just the same crap over and over again. It has its moments. It has some good moments. Larry Talbot's good as always. But it's weaker. I would put it just slightly lower in good. Now, Werewolf of London. Werewolf of London is kind of the blueprint for the Wolfman, where I know originally Jack Pierce wanted to do like the full Wolfman makeup for that movie, but Universal said no. So we ended up getting way more, toned down makeup for this werewolf. But Werewolf of London is fine. It's nowhere near as good as the Wolfman. Most people don't remember it or don't know about it, but Wilfred Glendon is technically the original Universal werewolf. And I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't think it's like amazing. I would say it's pretty mediocre. I'd probably actually, we might as well just plop it right in front of House of Frankenstein. That seems like a good spot to put it in, actually. Alright, so let's move on to the Mummy movies. This is going to be quick, because I think the Mummy movies are kind of all just about the same quality. So the first Mummy movie had Imhotep, played by Boris Karloff, and he was more of a magic man. He was fully aware. He was his own master. He wasn't like a pawn or anything. He was the mastermind. He was much more like Dracula. In fact, many people say it's the same plot as Dracula, but yeah, he was a true magic wielding villain, like a sinister villain, big, tall, imposing guy, and he wasn't walking around in bandages. He was wearing robes and a fez and everything. But then the sequels are about Karis. I'm just gonna say Karis. I know it's Cadiz, but I'm just gonna say Karis because that's easier to just keep blurting out. So we got 4 movies with Karis, and they're kind of all the same. I would say The Mummy's Hand stands out the most and is better quality. It came first. It's weirdly like a comedy. It's actually like a comedy adventure movie. And it's almost like a precursor to the Abbott and Costello films, which eventually they made Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy, which, by the way, I didn't put any of the Abbott and Costello films on here because those are 100% comedies. So even though I put stuff like The Man Who Laughs on here, I just felt like when something's a parody of the other films, I wasn't going to include it. Even though I love, Abbott and Costello, I just didn't put them in this list because I'm just trying to stick closer to horror generally. And there's like 50 of those Abbott and Costello movies, like the Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy, they meet Frankenstein, they meet the Killer. There's like all these movies. So anyway, yeah. The Mummy's Hand, it's a little more unique. It's kind of like not only a precursor to the Abbott and Costello movies, but kind of like a foreshadowing of what would happen decades and decades later in the late 90s with Brendan Fraser. It's kind of, I think the Brendan Fraser movies, even though they're about Imhotep as the villain, at least the first one was, they're way more in line with The Mummy's Hand, with a lot of action and adventure and, tomb crawling and wacky, quirky characters bouncing off of each other and making jokes and everything. And it's very jokey. So that's basically what this movie is. I would say it's not very good, though. It's the best of the Mummy sequels, but That's not saying a lot. The Mummy sequels aren't that good. I think I like The Mummy. I like Harris, but being realistic, I think the Mummy movies are some of like the most bottom of the barrel films that Universal put out. They weren't trying too hard with these ones. This was like kind of the original, like, you know what people said about Friday the 13th in the 80s, like, oh, they just keep making these mindless stupid movies every year because they're making money. That's kind of what The Mummy was in the 40s. So Mummy's Hand I'll put in good, and the next three movies are all going at the top of not great, because I don't think any of them are great, and they're all kind of the same damn movie over and over again. I think The Mummy's Ghost is the most forgettable. The only thing you can really say about it is it's the first one with Lon Chaney Jr. playing the Mummy, and he plays him every movie after that. And he is, after Boris Karloff, he is the best. He is quite good as the Mummy, but I mean, it's not like the hardest role to play. But I would say The Mummy's Ghost is the weakest of the three. And I would say The Mummy's Curse, the final one, is the best of the three. Really only for one reason, and that's there's one scene I really like when the modern descendant reincarnation or whatever of Princess Ananka, she drowns in the swamp at the end of the Mummy's tomb, and then in The Mummy's Curse there's a scene during the day where she comes out of the swamp all dried as like a zombie. And she looks like a mummy, and it's really creepy. For the Universal Monster movie, it's probably the creepiest moment in a Universal Monster film. There's just this eerie music in the background, and just the visual of her just covered in clay and dirt, and she looks like dead, and just the fact that it's in broad daylight outside, there's just something about it that's like really unsettling, and she has a really cool look. And I really wish she stayed as a mummy for the rest of the movie, and we had this cool mummy villain, female mummy villain in the movie. Have an evil mummy power couple as the villains, and maybe they like overthrow their master, and then they become the main villains. But we don't get that. She just walks into water, washes it off, and becomes sexy, and she just goes back to being a regular girl. I will say that it's a different actress playing her in both that and The Mummy's Tomb. Both of them are very attractive, though, so those movies have that going for them, too. But yeah, I would say Mummy's Curse is the best of the three because of that one scene. Mummy's Tomb is the second best because hot actress. And then Mummy's Ghost is the worst because it's so impossible to even remember anything about that damn movie. All right, now we have The Invisible Man Returns with my favorite actor, Vincent Price, and he knocks it out of the park. I already went over why I love this movie so much in my top 10 Universal Monsters film from a few years ago, video from a few years ago. I don't even know if I agree with that list anymore. If I'd have to watch it again, that was a few years ago that I made that. But I still stand by, this one is almost exactly as good as the first Invisible Man. I just think the original is a little bit better. But I put this one right behind it. I think this movie's fantastic. It's an essential. It's one of the only sequels in the Universal Monster catalog that's essential. I would say, obviously, the first two Frankenstein sequels are essential. I would say Dracula's Daughter is probably essential if you're a Universal Monster fan, and I would say The Invisible Man Returns is an essential sequel. I don't know if any of the other sequels are essential, but I would say this is a very good movie. Very good, right after the regular Invisible Man. Now I'm skipping straight to The Invisible Man's Revenge, because they had The Invisible Woman, which is 100% a comedy. It's not a horror movie in any way, shape, or form. It's meant just to be a lighthearted comedy. And then you have The Invisible Agent, and that's like a war espionage film. It's almost more like a superhero film than it is a horror movie. It's not a horror movie at all. It has Peter Lorre, but it's not a horror movie. It's kind of a shame that I believe the only Universal Monster movie to have Peter Lorre in it is not a horror film. But I'm not covering those two. I'm only going to cover the 3 that are horror, or the 2 that are horror. So we're doing the Invisible Man, the Invisible Man's Revenge. This was the last of the Invisible Man movies. It's okay. It's nowhere near as good as the first 2, but it's going back to being a horror film, a horror science fiction film. It is kind of silly, though, that the character's a Griffin. He's from the Griffin family. I believe he's Rob Griffin. But he's not the one. He's not a scientist. He's not the one who makes the serum to become invisible. A different scientist, played by John Carradine, makes it and turns him invisible. So it's not that the Griffin family is tied to the creation of the serum. There's just like some curse that if you have the last name Griffin, you're gonna end up an invisible man at some point. It's kind of weird. I wonder, have they done that in Family Guy yet? As the family turned invisible at some point. Invisible Man's Revenge is way more generic than the first 2. It has its moments, but for the most part, it's just kind of going through the motions. There's a little bit more of an interesting dynamic going on with the double crossing and all and stuff, but in general, I don't think it's that amazing. I wouldn't say it's bad, though. I'd put it in good, but I'd put it pretty low in good. It's better than The Mummy's Hand, that's for damn sure. But it's nowhere near the level of masterpiece of the first 2 Invisible Man films. Now, Man-Made Monster with Dynamo Dan, the Electric Man. This is Lon Chaney Jr. doing what he does best, playing a super likable, lovable guy with horrible things happening to him. That's kind of like Lon Chaney Jr.'s best performances, is like a really lovable guy with horrible things happening to him. I think this one doesn't get enough love. I think this one's actually really darn good. I would say it actually has the saddest ending of, it's one of the most, it might be the most tragic Universal monster movie. And I think it has the saddest ending. And while the dog is not hurt at all in the movie, it's sad because of the dog. I think the dog gives a way more emotional performance than any human could. The dog at the end of this movie makes me want to cry so badly. It's a very sad movie. It's a really tragic film, but it's really well acted. Lon Chaney Jr. is so good in it. Lionel Atwill's in it. He's good. Great film. I actually, honestly, I think it's really underrated. I would put it high in good. Honestly, actually, I'm going to put it right after the original Mummy. I think it belongs there. I think it's really good. I really like that movie. I think it deserves more love. And funny enough, it actually, even though he's kind of playing the same role as the Wolfman, they came out the same year. That movie technically came out first. And a lot of people always mention that Danny Elfman's Batman theme was inspired by music in The Wolfman. But I think what Danny Elfman doesn't realize is that theme, that score that played in The Wolfman, played first in Man-Made Monster. So technically the Batman music is based on Dynamo Dan's theme, not the Wolfman's theme. A lot of people don't get that. I know they reused it in like the Mad Ghoul and stuff also. They just used that soundtrack a lot. It seems like in the 40s, they just constantly recycled what everyone called the Wolfman soundtrack, which was really, I think, first technically the Man-Made Monster soundtrack. Now we have the Brute Man. Some people might argue that this one doesn't count because it was, I believe, distributed by Paramount. But for all intents and purposes, it's a Universal monster movie. It's based on, the Creeper, played by Rondo Hatton, who was one of the Universal monsters. Like, he was one of their big monsters, and Universal made the movie. It was fully a Universal movie. They just didn't distribute it because there was complications because the star Rondo Hatton passed away. And Universal wanted to make way more of these. They wanted Rondo Hatton's Creeper to be one of their characters who just had movie after movie after movie. They wanted to have a series as big as The Mummy for the Creeper. But the poor guy, you know, his health was a problem. And he passed away very young. So it's sad, but, you know, the series got ended early. So I'm counting The Brute Man as Universal Monsters, because it's a Universal Monster movie, and it was made by Universal. It just wasn't released by Universal. And it originally was meant to be released by Universal, but it wasn't. Technically, it's the second in the Creeper series. I mean, if you really want to get technical, the first movie he was in was a Sherlock Holmes movie by Universal, but that's not connected to the Universal Monster one. Like, it's the same character, but it's not. It's hard to explain. But the first movie was House of Horrors, which actually I didn't even remember I already did on this list. So I got that out of the way, I guess. I put that in good. It's sort of in the middle of good, a little bit closer to the bottom. House of Horrors is definitely a better movie than The Brute Man. I think a lot of people would say Rondo Hatton's not a good actor. And I think dialogue-wise, he's probably not the best actor. But he still makes you care about the character and feel for him. Like, yeah, the way he talks is kind of robotic, like he's reading off a script. But he does make you care for him, and his physical acting is really good. I shouldn't say care for him, because he is still a murderer. He still is a horrible person. But he's sympathetic in his own right. This is actually, even though it's the second one, this is his backstory. This is kind of like this should be the first movie and House of Horrors should be the second one. But for whatever reason, they were released in that order. I would say it's not as good as House of Horrors. House of Horrors is a better film. Maybe that's why that one got released first. But I would still say The Brute Man is good. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. I wouldn't say it's one of Universal's best, but I would say it's still good. I'd put it just above the original Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. In good, near the end of good. Now The Mad Ghoul from, I believe, 1943. This one is, it's okay. I don't think this one's, like, amazing. It's a pretty forgettable one. It's another tragic one. It's not that noteworthy. I would say the most noteworthy thing about it, it's kind of like the Mummy movies. It's kind of like, you know, guy using a pawn, and there's, like, a bunch of people who want the same girl, who's Evelyn Ankers, who's, like, the love interest in, like, every single freaking 1940s Universal Monster movie. It's kind of a shame that no one ever remembers who she is, because she's one of the most consistent actors in the Universal Monster catalog. She just never plays the monster. She plays the love interest, so no one remembers. But yeah, like everyone's kind of into the same girl, even like the old ass professor. So it's weird. And she's clearly into the dude in her band, but like these nitwits can't figure it out. I feel like the only thing you can really credit the Mad Ghoul for is it kind of, even though he's not a zombie technically, he's kind of more a zombie in the sense of a voodoo zombie, like a possessed zombie, not so much like a undead zombie, even though he is technically undead. Kind of. It's hard to describe what the hell he even is. But I do think he kind of started the trend of like the cool, young, hip, sexy looking zombie guy. Like I kind of feel like this became a popular thing in like the 1950s and 60s. These like rockabilly zombies, like I was a teenage zombie kind of thing, where they look gross and dead and everything, but they also look kind of like cool and hunky, like James Dean or something. This and Man-Made Monster are kind of hard to believe that they're 40s movies. They feel very 50s when you watch them, but it's just a reminder that the 50s and 40s were a lot closer than we like to think. We like to think that everything was so different, but it was a gradual transition, and you could already see stuff from the 50s blooming in the 40s. But I would say The Mad Ghoul, if you just want to see unique Universal Monster movies, it's worth checking out. But if you're just wanting to see a lot of good Universal Monster films, I wouldn't recommend The Mad Ghoul. I'd put it low in good. I'm not going to say it's not great. I'd say it's still good, but it's barely good. if that sounds all right. Now we have the Captive Wild Woman. Captive Wild Woman was the first in a trilogy of the Ape Woman movies. Now that's a Universal monster you've probably never heard of. The Ape Woman had a trilogy. She had more movies than the Wolfman, if you don't count crossovers. And she's a gorilla that they found in the jungle. And then a guy does science stuff with glands and turns her into a hot woman, a human woman, played by Aquanetta, who no one could ever figure out what her ethnicity was. It was constantly changing. But she doesn't do too much other than just look hot. But yeah, this trilogy, well, actually, she wasn't in the third one, which actually I haven't seen the third one, so it's not on this list. But I have seen the first two, and Captive Wild Woman is definitely better than its sequel, but it is not a very good movie. Some people say that the reason why the Ape Woman trilogy isn't remembered and she didn't become a big Universal monster is simply because she's a female monster, or she's not particularly attractive as the monster, which is debatable, because technically when she's the gorilla, that's her normal form. The human form is kind of her mutated monster form. So she has her little transitionary forms where she basically looks like the Wolfman as a woman. I think there's no consistent look for her. She keeps changing. She's barely in the movie. And the movies aren't very good. I think that's the real reason why. And the movies aren't very good. It's mostly a bunch of footage of like lions and tigers in a circus, and real animals. They're very proud of their animal training and animal taming. Like the intro has a big like, thanks to this guy for the animal training scenes and all. That's the majority of the film. The majority of the film, you're just watching real giant cats. And most of it's like lions and tigers beating the hell out of each other, like viciously beating the hell out of each other. And it can't be playing. It can't be like an act. Like, these are just animals that they let beat the crap out of each other. And they filmed it. And then they sprayed them with a water hose, like a fire hose, to get them to stop fighting at some point. It goes on uncomfortably long. It just makes you worry about what happened to these animals the whole time you're watching it. I don't think these animals were taken care of very well when making this movie. I think these animals severely messed each other up, and it's a little hard to watch. And it's kind of low on narrative, because they were basically just trying to show off the spectacle of, look at what got these crazy cats to do. And it's like you're just watching a circus act. It's not really like a movie, most of it. It's weird. The movie's more about big cats, and then in the background, there's this little like side story going on of a gorilla getting turned into a woman, and the woman getting jealous of, guess who? Evelyn Ankers, because the main guy is in love with her, and the gorilla girl is in love with him. So it's weird. It's a weird plot. And then when she gets angry, she starts reverting back. When she gets jealous and angry, she starts reverting back to a gorilla. Not a great movie. I'd put it in not great, near the bottom, honestly. But its sequel, Jungle Woman, is straight trash. That is going in trash. That is the worst Universal monster movie I've ever seen. The first 20 minutes of the movie is just people in court bringing up moments from the first movie, and then us watching the first movie. The first 20 minutes is just like a recap. It's like a 20-minute recap of the first movie. They re-show all their freaking scenes of the lions and tigers beating the crap out of each other. They give the thanks to the guy for the animal tamer at the beginning of the movie too, even though there's actually no new footage of animal taming. It's all the same crap from the last movie, just brought over. So I don't even know why they bothered thanking him. The movie starts with a kill. So we already know what happens. We already know how the movie ends right at the beginning, so there's no mystery to it. We never see her really turning into the gorilla anymore in this movie. It sucks. It's a waste of time. It's a disappointment. It adds nothing to the first movie. Most of it is just recycled footage from the first movie. We never see an ape woman in the movie. We don't get the monster. It sucks. It's a bad movie. And Evelyn Ankers is back. Aquanetta is back, and she didn't come back for the third time to play the ape woman. I don't even blame her. It's like, what did she get to do in this movie? Like, it was a wasted role. You know, the ape woman could have been like a classic Universal monster, but they blew it. They didn't do anything good with her. So there's a reason why no one knows who the ape woman is. That's a terrible movie. Now The Frozen Ghost, with Lon Chaney Jr. It's pretty good. I actually like The Frozen Ghost. It's got like hints of House of Wax in it. It's got, you wouldn't expect it with a title like that. You'd expect it to be a ghost that like freezes people to death or something, but it's not. It's actually a wax museum. Wax museum / magician film. And Lon Chaney Jr. plays a hypnotist. He thinks he's killing people. He thinks like his hypnosis is killing people. And he ends up in a wax museum. I'm not going to give the whole story, but it's a good one. Honestly, I think it's actually pretty good. And of course, Lon Chaney Jr. is great in it. He was like Universal's big horror leading man in the 40s. And a lot of people know that, but most people can only point to the Wolfman movies or the Mummy movies. But, you gotta dig into like the more obscure Universal monster movies of the 40s that didn't get celebrated as much if you really want to see him being the leading man and really getting a good chance to act and show off his acting chops and stuff. I think Invisible Ghost and Man-Made Monster and like those kind of films are the best examples of his work. And I would say Frozen Ghost is probably right about in the middle of good. It's a good movie. I like the Frozen Ghost. All right, now Revenge of the Creature. Admittedly, my memories of this movie are kind of foggy. They're not great. I don't remember liking it. I remember after I watched it, this was years ago that I watched this movie, a long time ago. And after I watched it, I actually said, that's the first Universal monster movie I don't like. And that was before I ever saw Jungle Woman, which is way worse. But I think it deserves a rewatch, because when I think back on it, I'm like, I don't quite remember why I thought it was so bad. I don't remember anything being that bad in it. But for some reason, I really didn't like it. I know it made the creature, really sympathetic. And he already was, he's just a creature being himself, and these people barge into his environment. And again, it's kind of like the original Frankenstein. Like the first movie let you know you should feel sorry for this guy, without beating you on the head with it. Everyone in the movie still thinks of him as a horrible monster, but the audience is expected to have the brain capacity to see that he's not a bad guy. He's just a creature trying to live. But yeah, I'm going to put Revenge of the Creature. Even though I said I didn't like it, I'll put it in not great, but I'll put it somewhat high in not great, just because I can't remember why I wouldn't like it so much. So just to be safe, I'll put it there. Now the Creature Walks Among Us, the last of the Creature from the Black Lagoon movies, the Gillman movies. This one's plot makes no sense. I don't really know why there's this captain guy who's just obsessed with making a new intelligent race of fish people. He's like, oh, the human race is gonna die on Earth and never grow beyond its potential, and we need to have a life form that can go beyond this planet. It's like, why do you think fish people are going to be able to go to space? I don't get the connection. Why is he so obsessed with like evolving the Gillman to be more human? I don't like the way like the more human Gillman looks. He just kind of looks sillier than the regular Gillman. Doesn't look great. Yeah, it doesn't really serve any purpose either, because he's just kind of like a crazy killing monster anyway. And it kind of turns into like something reminiscent of the Thing from Another World, only nowhere near as good. where, you know, he's kind of like storming through laboratories and screaming and breaking down doors and attacking people. He looks kind of silly dressed in like a shirt and pants, but whatever. There's some beautiful underwater cinematography earlier in the movie, but it goes on way too long and starts to put you to sleep. So, like, even though it looks really good, they didn't need to make it that long. Although I will say there is some like sort of creepy moments when the gill man's swimming around in the water, and like something about the music, it has this weird music playing, and kind of when they combine it, it's almost scary. The gill man is also like immortal, because like this isn't a different gill man. This is supposed to be the same damn gill man in every single movie. And he gets shot to hell at the end of the first movie. We assume he's dead. But then the second movie, it turns out he's not. He gets shot at the end of the second one. It's like, well, of course he's not dead. He got shot like way more in the first movie and he was totally fine. And then in this one, they didn't even bother. He just walks into the ocean at the end and goes home. It's got a pretty good message. I think it has a decent message in that, like, you know, humans keep wanting to use all these other life forms and creatures and environments around them for our own personal selfish gain. When all these other things are content just living the way they live, they don't have our greedy need to always be better and better and better than everything else around us. Like they're just happy existing how they exist. And when we get in the middle of that, we just ruin their lives. And when you see him at the end, he's all like tired and worn down and hurt, and he just wants to go back into the ocean. He just walks back into the ocean. That's the most powerful scene in the movie, I think, because it gets the message across pretty well without beating you over the head with it. So I would say I almost want to put it higher than the Revenge of the Creature, but I'm not going to. I think it's probably not as good. I'll put it slightly lower, not that much lower. But... All right, now This Island Earth. This isn't at all a horror movie. It probably shouldn't even be on here. The aliens aren't bad guys. It's just like a normal science fiction film, and then in like the last 5 minutes, it turns into a cliche horror film. They slap the Metaluna mutant all over the promotional stuff for this movie, the merchandise. They've made so many figures and stuff of the mutant, but I mean, I don't even know why they call it a mutant. It's not. It's just a natural insect creature on their planet, on their alien planet. That's not a mutant if it's not mutated. If it's just a regular animal on their planet, it's not mutated. But it's a giant like guy in a bug costume. It clearly looks like he's wearing sweatpants. So it's like, even though it's a cool classic design, it is a little goofy and silly looking. But yeah, one comes in at the end when they're ready to get like shot to Earth, and they're all like in their sleep chambers. And he's already damaged. He's already like beaten on the head and like bleeding from the head, and he's like weakened and stuff. But for no reason at all, this giant bug just opens the capsule that the girl is in and then starts carrying her away like every monster had to in the 1950s. And I love the cliche, but it really feels tacked on in this movie. I don't think This Islanders is that good. I think it's okay. It's not a bad sci-fi movie. There's way better 50s sci-fi films than This Island Earth. I think the main reason this movie gets remembered is just for the Metaluna mutant. It was just such a popular design. And they even plastered him on the posters and everything. So I'm going to put it at the very end of good, to be fair. And then we have The Mole People. This is where we're ending it. The Mole People is fine. It's definitely creative. It's got a somewhat similar plot to a movie I talked about in a video years ago called War Gods of the Deep. It was a Poe one with Vincent Price. Only instead of being like the ocean, it's like under the crust of the earth, like in like the center of the earth. And the Mole People, disappointingly, are not like the main stars of the movie. They're like slaves. Their designs are pretty silly, but they're also pretty unique and iconic. I don't think it's the greatest. It starts with like a really boring like science class video kind of thing, which I find charm in those like hokey BS science babble scenes in 50s sci-fi films, but this one's a bit much, and you don't want to start on that. So I would say it's not the greatest, but I'd say it's good. It's definitely worth a watch if you like campy 50s sci-fi films. So I would say it's definitely better than this Island Earth. It has more entertainment value. But I'm not going to put it too high. I'd put it in good, but I'd put it just above The Brute, man. And that's it. That's my list so far of the Universal Monster movies. If I've never seen a movie, I didn't put it on the list. And if I have seen it but didn't put it on the list, I hopefully explained well enough why I didn't put it on the list. But as I said, I'm not doing like 120 movies this year like I did last year. Just doing Universal. Maybe I'll do another video of like sequels to later horror films, or maybe I'll just do more recent horror films or something, but probably not because we're so close to Halloween already. But yeah, this is my list. I don't know how to end this video. Check it out.
Do all the liking and subscribing and the sharing and the bell stuff.
We got